Most life-changing books don't actually change your life. They promise clarity, confidence, happiness, and then you finish them and nothing really changes. Maybe you underlined a quote, maybe you felt motivated for a split second, and then it fades. So when people kept recommending The Courage to be Disliked, I assumed it would be the same. Another trending self-help book, another set of obvious advice dressed up as wisdom. I didn't expect much from it, but this one, well, the best way to put it, it didn't inspire me. It just was a very interesting look at how we think, how I think, and it showed a mirror up to myself. And somehow that kind of stuck. I'm Darth James, welcome to this episode, and let's just get into the meat and bones, shall we? I picked this book up because it's basically been everywhere for however long at this point. I kept seeing it constantly recommended on psychology blogs, in countless self-help gurus on the internet, clipped into a handful of short videos called The Book That Will Change Your Life, which is usually a red flag. I've read enough self-improvement books to recognise the formula. They tell you you're not working hard enough, you're not disciplined enough, you're not positive enough, which always ends with the solution, some kind of version of optimizing yourself. Wake up early, try harder, fix your mindset. I hate the word mindset. It starts to feel less like help and more like homework. So I went into this one very skeptical. But the structure caught my attention. It isn't written like advice, it's written like a conversation. A philosopher and a frustrated young man arguing back and forth. The student pushes back constantly. He doubts everything. He calls out the philosopher when it sounds unrealistic, which honestly made this feel more human. It sounded like how people actually think, not someone preaching from a centre point on stage. The book is built around the ideas of Adler, one of the big names of early psychology alongside Freud. But unlike Freud, who wants to analyse your childhood for 6 hours, Adler is surprisingly practical. His core belief is simple. You are not controlled by your past, you are choosing how to live now. And at first that idea annoyed me because so many psychologists and psychological books come from Freud. I'm sorry, this is going to be pretentious. They do. And admittedly, there was a side of my brain that sounded the alarm, thinking this sounds a bit like toxic positivity, like telling someone just to be happy. But Adler doesn't say that, he says something much harder. He says your past explains you, but it doesn't excuse you. And that distinction is extremely uncomfortable, especially now because we live in an age where everything is rooted in childhood trauma or some major event in the past. And it hands the responsibility back to you. There are books that drop the idea that everything is related to some kind of back trauma, and I've always preferred Adler when it comes to psychology. But this book drops the idea that really made me stop and think. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems, which sounds exaggerated at first, but when you sit with it, it starts to make sense. So much of our stress isn't the situation itself, it's what other people think about the situation. Judgment, approval, expectations, trying not to disappoint anyone, trying to be liked, trying to be enough for everyone at once, and then realising how much of my mental energy wasn't spent solving actual problems, it was spent rehearsing imaginary ones, imaginary arguments, imaginary criticism, imaginary rejection. Just conversations in my head with people who weren't even there, and that's exhausting. There's the concept that really stuck with me the most is the separation of tasks. It's incredibly simple. Ask yourself, whose responsibility is this? If it's your task, you handle it. If it belongs to someone else, you let it go. Your task is to act honestly, do your best, and behave according to your own values. Whether someone likes you or not the task. Whether someone misunderstands you, not the task. Whether someone judges you unfairly, also not your task. And when I read that, something clicked, because I realised how much of my life I'd spent trying to manage other people's reactions, trying to control how I was perceived, trying to preempt criticism, trying to make sure everyone was comfortable with me, which is impossible. You can't live your life like a customer service department. Eventually you burn out. Separating those tasks feels much lighter. Not clueless, not detached, just realistic. Do what's yours, let the rest belong to other people. And that, well, I'm going to put it this way. That change isn't a cinematic thing. And this book has been fundamental in the last 12 months of my life, plus, and also, I'm going to be really honest, fundamental in how I do this channel now. There's no big cinematic change. There's no sudden transformation. You put the book down and you're the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. It's far smaller than that. Quieter. I stopped over-explaining myself, stopped assuming every silence meant I did something wrong, stopped trying to predict everyone else's opinion before I even acted, especially online, where it's easy to treat every comment or view count like a verdict on your self-worth. This book helped me step back and think. My task is to make things honestly. What people do with it after that isn't mine to carry. A modern way of saying it is, it's a you problem, not a me problem. And again, I hate the word mindset, but it also removes so much unnecessary anxiety. What surprised me the most is this book isn't comfortable. It doesn't coddle you. It doesn't say, none of this is your fault. If anything, it's stricter than most self-help books. It basically says you're free, which sounds nice until you realise freedom means responsibility. You can't blame your past forever, you can't blame other people. At some point you choose how you respond. And that's harder than being told to stay positive, but also a hell of a lot more honest. I don't agree with everything in it. Some of the philosophy feels a little too neat for real life. Life is messy, people are messy, and trauma does happen. But I don't think the book is trying to erase that, I just think it's offering a different lens. A way to stop carrying things that were never yours to begin with. And once you see that lens, it's very hard to go back. You stop catching yourself. Is this actually my responsibility, or am I borrowing stress? Most of the time I'm borrowing it. I didn't expect much from this book. I assumed it would be another trendy self-help book, like the 10,000 Hours or the Save the Cat, or other psychology books that I've read over the years. Something I read, nod at, and forget. Instead, it's shifted how I approach people, conflict, expectations, myself, how I treat content, how I treat other people's perception of me. Not louder, not bigger, just clearer. And honestly, clarity is rarer than motivation. So if a book can give you that, even a little, then it's probably worth more than all the hype in the world. So yeah, against my better judgment, I read an actual self-help book, which I still find slightly funny, but I'm glad I read it. My name is Dove James, and this was an episode of The Board Book Geek. Remember to like, subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments below. Also, if you want to support this channel and help keep the lights on, you're welcome to join as channel member, Substack, Patreon, or even just buy me a coffee on Ko-fi. But yeah, it was a strange book for me to read, and I'm so glad that I read it.